Well, hello, Leslie. How are you doing, Leslie? Good to see you here.
Good to see you. How you doing?
I've been having a frantic day, but never mind. These things happen, and sadly, I had a very good friend of mine died recently. I just heard about that today. He died from the vaccine.
Oh no, I'm so
It's
sorry
sad.
to hear that.
Yeah, it's tragic. I'd known him for 35 years, and sadly, no longer with us.
No, wow. I'm so sorry to hear that. That's tough.
Mhm. So I'm very glad that you're with us. And hello, Dion. Good to see you.
Hello, hello, Keith. How are you?
I'm very well. I've been really busy today and frantically trying to get Zoom working. Unfortunately, Zoom couldn't get it working.
Oh
So
dear.
we won't be going live to Facebook, unfortunately, because although I was with them for an hour and all the settings are correct, I
All
could
right.
I couldn't get it to go live to Facebook. And
Oh, that's unfortunate. Oh
they
dear.
they couldn't get it fixed, so this won't be on Facebook, unfortunately. But it is being recorded, so I'll have to upload it to Facebook later on as a recording, which won't be quite as good. But
Oh well.
at least
Uh,
it's being recorded, and you look
yes,
fabulous, Dion.
that's the main thing. It's been recorded, so that's good.
And
So Keith, I had some issues with Facebook and Zoom at one point, and it was because Facebook had gone in and changed all the settings and it had wiped out all my settings. So I actually had to go in and reallow um, Facebook to accept Zoom or something like that. So just a thought. I don't know
yes,
when was the last
well,
time you
I
went
did all
live.
of that with Zoom because Zoom has updated their software, so I had to go in and reset all the settings. We've done all of that, but it still won't work with Facebook, unfortunately. So Zoom couldn't work out what was wrong, and so I'm scratching my head. It's probably something really simple, as it
Mm.
always is, and I was working with it for an hour with them. And while I was talking to them, the person I was talking with kept dropping off. So then I had to go through the whole process again with a new person each time, which was always frustrating because you have to start from scratch with each one of them,
Mm.
which is really annoying. So I just want to give it a few minutes because there are about 20 people registered. So I want to see how many of them will join us. It looks like we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 so far. So we've got a few more will be joining us, I hope. So I just want to give it a few minutes for that to happen. And then I will start. So little bit of housekeeping before we start. I can be doing that until they join us. Well, I'm not planning any disasters or fires or anything like that, heaven forbid. But if by chance I do have a fire here, you'll know because I will be out that door really fast. And I don't normally use bad swear words or anything like that. But if there is a fire, you might just catch the tail end of a word ending in. You might hear the K. You won't hear the F because I'll be gone. And likewise, if any of you have any disasters, I suggest you leave quickly. And do make sure that you're in a place of relative safety, because I will be doing some hypnosis during this call that will help you with the processes that I will be talking about during this call. So that will be very simple stuff that you'll be able to do on your own after this call, and I hope that you do that. And it is 3 minutes past now, so I'm thinking that I'll just get started, if that's okay with all of you. Because we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people, looks like. And that's good because I'll be able to keep an eye on all of you. If we had 20 people here, we'd have 2 screens. I wouldn't be able to see everybody. And I'm just going to quickly check just in case Facebook is working before I go any further. I suspect not. So I'm going to see if I can get onto Facebook. And here we go. And no, it's not going to work. Oh, well. And I thought I'd lost all of you for a moment by doing that, but no, I haven't. So, Leslie, I think you're a hypnotist, aren't you? Dion, you're not. You're an office
No.
worker. And just Jane, I think you're a hypnotist, aren't you? And Lisa, you're a hypnotist, aren't you? And
Yes.
Liz, you're a hypnotist, aren't you? Okay, so we're all hypnotists apart from Dion. So I'm
There's
going
a
to
second page, Keith Anthony. There's a
Say-
few other people, Nick
say-
and Elaine.
say again.
There's a second page. If you
Is
look
there?
at the top of your screen,
Oh,
there's a
so
blue
there
arrow.
is. Let's go
Yeah.
to gallery view.
Yeah.
Oh, we've got
If
1,
you
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of us. So Nick, how are you, Nick? Are you a hypnotist, aren't you?
Yeah, solution focused hypnotherapy. Yeah.
Okay, fabulous. Right, so let's make a start, shall we? So once again, and somebody's put something in the chat. What have we got there? I'm a hypnotherapist. I'll have to expand that. Oh, Elaine, you're a hypnotherapist. Okay. So Dion, you're the only one who's not a hypnotherapist. So have you ever been hypnotized, Dion?
No, never.
No,
I've
are you
never
sure?
been hypnotized.
No. So you've never
No.
you've never watched TV then? Because when you watch that angle on TV, you zone out, don't you? And time goes really
Yes, yes.
quickly.
I tend to do that from time to time.
Mhm,
Zone into the soaps and
mhm.
everything else.
Yeah. And then as soon as the adverts go on, you snap out of it and you rush around getting your tea and
Yes.
yeah, I nearly said fags, but you don't, I know. But you're getting your snacks and everything else, aren't you? You rush around like a lab rat. And then as soon as the ads are over, you sit down and you obey the screen.
Yes.
So in reality, you have been hypnotized, haven't you? But that's all. That
Yeah, really. Yeah, I have.
Because hypnosis is just a state of focus and alert attention. That's really all hypnosis is. So it's very simple and very easy for you to do it. And Lisa, have you just joined us? Are you going to come on camera so we can see you? Lovely. Welcome. So I'm going to be talking about cell communication therapy. I don't like that word therapy, but cell communication, which is something that I've been doing for 43 years. Possibly you could call it 44 years. In fact, let's call it 44 years, because I've been discovering the power of the mind for a lot longer than I've been a hypnotherapist, because I've always had this voice that does things to people, and people told me many years ago that, Keith, you must be a hypnotist. So they hypnotized me really into becoming a hypnotist, because I thought that they were telling me that I was boring, because when I was talking to people, or when I was listening to people and talking to people, they would zone out and they would go to sleep. So I thought I was boring. But they were telling me that I was helping them. So I would listen to their problems and I would use minimal encouragers and bridges, and that's just a term that means that when they were talking about their problems and their issues, I would just do very little things to encourage them to keep talking. Like I would nod my head and I would say things like, uh-huh. And then I would say, and I just said it then, and then, so that if they would stop, I'd say, and then, and that kind of thing. And that would just encourage them to keep talking. And I didn't realize this was therapy. So they thought that I was a hypnotist. So eventually I bought a book on self-development, because I needed developing, because I was only a little guy. So I stretched myself out a bit with this book on self-development. And then I bought a book on hypnosis, which I've got behind me. This is the book, Dave Elman's Hypnotherapy. And that was round about, I don't know, 1992, something like that. And I read that book by Dave Ellman, who's a very famous hypnotist, and those of us who are hypnotists all know him. Do we all know Dave Ellman? Yeah, all the heads nodding, apart from Dion, because you don't know him. But if you wanted to know about hypnosis, that wouldn't be a bad place to start.
Okay.
And I was going through that book, and it was a great book, but a lot of what Dave was talking about, I was realizing I was already doing. And then after reading that book, I was in my office. I was selling life insurance at the time, getting people into their homes and paying for their mortgages. And one day I left my office because I was agitated. I couldn't settle because this strange power, and I'm going to be talking about this power in a minute, this strange power came over me, and I pushed me out of the office, pushed me onto a random bus, and I headed north towards what was Streatham, where I got off, Streatham Vale. I didn't know the name of the road in those days, but I always remember it now. And I started ambling south, looking in shop windows, and I came across this Jamaican lady who was leaning on a shop window in pain with a pool of water underneath her, and asked her if she was okay. And I thought she was having a heart attack or something, that in pain, making her urinate. And she said, "I'm in labor." And my first instinct was to run away. But I didn't. I stayed with her, and I called an ambulance. And then I took her into a laundrette, which was nearby. It's still there now, but it's changed the name now. And they used to, in those days, we had telephone boxes. This was 1994. And I ended up delivering her baby painlessly, based on what I learned in this book. And for the hypnotists here, you all know this. Do you actually know this book? Have you read it? You remember what's in it? Dave Ellman says that we're all in a trance already, and use the trance that we're already in. So I realized the lady was already in a trance because she was in pain. I just used the trance that she was already in and delivered the baby painlessly using what was already there. And the baby was delivered, and I thought, because I'd not delivered the baby before, I was shocked how tiny it was. Really, really small. Very small. And I was terrified all the way through, but I didn't let her know that. I calmed her down. And shortly after delivering the baby, I went to a bar 2 or 3 doors away, and I drank a pint of Guinness in about 3 seconds. And I'm not a drinking man. And that's how I became a hypnotherapist. But many, many years before that, I started to learn about cell communication. Well, I didn't know it was called that then. When in 1977, a friend of mine had a very bad accident in Germany, and his left leg or his left ankle was severed. And I was laying down with him in a ditch. I took command of the situation, and I got rid of all the idiots, because I was with a bunch of my friends, and I tell you, they were a bunch of idiots. And I knew that they would straight away start making a joke of it and telling him that his foot was severed. So I got rid of them. I got them to control the traffic and keep everybody away. And I told him that he had a complex fracture, which strictly speaking he did. I didn't let him know that his ankle was severed. And I kept him calm, kept him still, and I just talked to him calmly and smoothly, as I'm doing now with you. And I suggested to him that he just needed to keep still so he didn't make the wound any worse. And I said that the wound would just bleed just enough to clean the wound, and then it would stop bleeding. And that's exactly what it did for 4 hours until the ambulance arrived. And I didn't want to put a tourniquet on because I knew intuitively that if we did, that would reduce the chances of the surgeon reattaching the foot, because there would be no blood supply to the stump if we put a tourniquet on. And I knew that putting a tourniquet on is painful, and he was already in stress. And so I didn't want to do that because I wanted to keep him alive. And so for 4 hours, the severed ankle, with main arteries going to the end of the stump, didn't bleed. And I was not at that time trained in hypnosis in any way. So what I was doing, and I didn't know it at that time, this was 1977, I was communicating with his mind and his body in what I now call cell communication, because his entire physiology was coming into alignment, and not only his body, there was something else going on that I wasn't aware of, because I was getting, I don't know if I should use the word, getting into communion. I can't think of a better word at the moment, getting into communion, not only with his mind and his body, but also his spirit, because there is a single consciousness that you may or may not be aware of, that we're all connected to. And some people call that God, or some people call that the Creator. And this is how some people are able to read minds, because we're all tied into this collective consciousness. I don't know what you all think. Have any of you had any experience of that? Jane, you're nodding your head, and Liz, are you nodding your head or are you just shaking? And Nick, you're smiling. I wonder what's going on in there.
I'm always smiling. It's a Friday night.
So I didn't realize it at the time, but a year later I was going to discover it when something else happened. But I was in alignment with his spirit unknowingly, because I had this compassion for him, as well as wanting to save his life and save his foot. Because I had this compassion for him, I was getting into alignment with his spirit body without realizing it, which was amazing. And I quite definitely saved his life. And I was then 21 years old, 1977, just a boy, just a lad, and had some hair then. I've not got so much now. But that was I remember that I was very much realizing that I was looking at a miracle, because I did not expect that his leg would stop bleeding just like that, just like that. That was that Tommy Cooper, or was that who was it that used to say just like that? It was Tommy Cooper.
Just like that.
Dion does it better than me. Tommy Cooper, wasn't it? Just
Tommy
like
Cooper.
that. Yeah, and that was a miracle. Then a year later, I unfortunately I had my own accident where I was critically injured, and I definitely shouldn't be alive now. And I had a really bad head injury. I was in a coma myself, and paralyzed from the neck down. And I have 70% brain damage, so I've got absolutely no right to be able to talk to you now. A friend of mine who's a medical student looked at my MRI, and straight away, she looked. She's in Florida. She looked at me on screen, and she's seen a copy of my MRI. She said to me, "You should be blind and deaf." And then she sat there with her mouth open for a few minutes. So I'm a bit of a miracle, and this is how I know that there is this collective consciousness, because whatever is happening with me is definitely not in here, because I was diagnosed as a vegetable, which always annoys me, because I think it was a bit extreme calling me a vegetable, because clearly I'm not. But when I was on my hospital bed, I was registering 0 on the brain monitor apparently, and there was that, which means there was nothing cognitive going on. And that tells me that whatever is doing the talking now must have resided elsewhere outside of this physical body, somewhere in the collective consciousness. And when I came to, I had profound amnesia. I didn't know what people were at all. They were like, it was like I was looking at aliens. Although I call them aliens, I didn't know what aliens were either. So for a time it was like that. I couldn't do ordinary things on my own, like breathing and urinating, because I just didn't know how. So, but after a time, my cognition gradually came back from out here somewhere. So this is how I know that there is a collective consciousness that I tap into when I work with people. And does this make sense to you all? Because I don't want to labor on talking about myself too much. And I was paralyzed neck down. And they said, you'll always be this way. And I first of all, I had to learn how to talk again. But once I learned how to talk again, I said, no, I won't. I'm going to overcome this somehow, some way, someday. And I didn't know how I was going to do that. I just sent this command to what I perceived to be my brain or my head. And I just accepted that I would overcome it. And I don't want to talk on this call about my near-death experience, because I had a near-death experience, and the creator or God or whatever you want to call it told me that that would be the case. So I had my faith that I would overcome it. So I had no feeling in my body at all. It was like I was welded to the bed. But I just accepted that somehow I would overcome it. And I want to cut a long story short by just saying, and I did overcome it, because I want to move on, if that's okay with you, because I don't want to risk boring you. So I overcame it. And as you can see, I'm walking and talking. So, and I did that because I'm going to say my brain, because it's the best way to understand it. My brain began to communicate with all the cells in my body. And what I want you to understand, that all the cells in your body have a way of chattering. They talk to each other, and they talk to every cell in your body. So if I've got a cell in my finger, each cell in my finger talks to the adjacent cells in the finger, but each cell in the finger talks to each cell in the toes and in the kidneys and in the heart, because each cell is an electrical being, if you like. It's a frequency. If you could look at it with an electron microscope, you could see, if you increase the size of it big enough with an electron microscope, you see it's like a little radio generator. It's made of a frequency. We emit radio waves, and our heart can generate a radio frequency that goes with some people as far as 30 feet, so I'm told. So when you're near people, other people pick up that frequency. And I know the hypnotists here have heard this before, haven't you? Nod your head. Had you heard that before, Dion?
No.
No?
Never heard that before. No.
That's because you've been watching too much TV. Now, so we are beings of frequency, and this is one of the reasons I refuse to. I've never used a mobile phone, because when you use those devices, they interfere with that frequency. They make you sick, and we don't want to be sick, do we?
No.
So all those cells communicate with each other, and I've used this principle many times, because when you understand that all the cells in your body are communicating, you can do wonderful things with them to heal your body physically, psychologically, and spiritually, to do incredible things. And I've done that in myself many times, and I've done that in my clients many times. And I would suspect that some of the therapists here have done that as well. Has anyone done that? No, nobody?
Yes, I have.
Lisa has. Good.
One story is my son was 9 years old and he was running to the bathroom at a baseball game.
Yes.
And he hit his hand on a pole that was at, the middle of height, and he broke his hand. But he didn't want to leave the game, so he told everybody it was fine.
Yes.
And the next morning it was really, really swollen. So we took him to the doctor and they said that, yes, he had broken his hand and he'd be in a cast. So I had him out of the cast in 12 days. Completely healed.
Yeah. Did you do that with spoken word or with passes?
With spoken word. He was used to being hypnotized. I had started when he was very young, playing subliminals and just playing things in the background that his body was able to heal because he had a skin condition.
Yes.
And so he was used to that. And he was programmed from a young age that his body healed exceptionally fast. The next time he did a compound fracture, it took 17 days because he was starting to disbelieve me, but was still faster than they said 6 weeks in a cast. So that was 2.5 weeks.
Yes.
I've done other things with myself, but.
I had a broken leg once and broken ankle, and they put a cast on it. And when they took the cast off, I stood up and they said, "What do you do?" I said, "What are you doing?" I said, well, I'm walking." They said, "You can't do that." I said, "Why not?" And they said, "You need to have physiotherapy." I said, "Why?" They said, "Everybody does." And I said, "Well, I don't need physiotherapy. I've been exercising all the time it's been in the cast. And I've been using healing techniques." And I stood up and I just started walking around, and they were trying to persuade me to sit down and book a course of physiotherapy. And I was laughing. In fact, I'm laughing now remembering it. And when I was telling Dion earlier on about the gangrene that I had in my left leg, thanks to the hospital, they wanted to cut my leg off. And I told them what to do with that idea. And I discharged myself. They said I was going to die if they didn't cut the leg off. And I thought I was going to die if they cut the leg off, because they would cut it off at the knee, then above the knee, and then at the thigh, and I would still die. So I went home and I did surgery on my leg myself, from the ankle to the back of the knee, a 4-inch wide surgery without anesthetic, and I cut that gangrene out all the way down to the muscle. And I dressed it myself with salty wet bandages every day. And it'd been like that for 6 months. But after 2 days, the skin began to grow back, and I've still got the leg. So I think I did the right thing treating it myself. I wish I'd done it 6 months earlier instead of letting them dress it. And I could have saved myself a great deal of pain. But it's all the power of the mind, because all the cells in the body talk to each other. And I always say that the human body is like a bunch of kids. Because if you give children fabulous things to do, then they'll do fabulous things. But if you don't give children fabulous things to do, then there's no telling what they'll do. And the human body will look after itself by and large. It's got a basic program of things that it will do, and it will do that. But when it does that, it just gets by. It just does the minimum. It'll keep your heart beating. It will, your kidneys and liver will do the things that they do. They're filtering out all the muck and that kind of stuff. But it's got a minimum program, and it won't do anything extra. And that's why you get sick. And we get sick because we're all worried about stuff. We're all thinking about stuff all the time. We're thinking about the cat, the dog, the budgie, the husband, the wife, the cooking, the cleaning, the shopping, the boss, and all the bad things that people have said to us, and all the things that have gone on throughout our lives are being stored in our body. It all gets, this is the hard drive, it all gets stored in our body, it's all dumped in our body somewhere. That causes stress, and stress causes disease like cancer. That's the body rejecting all that stress and turning it into disease. It's speaking out, it's saying, I don't like this anymore. And it starts to complain. And we can protect ourselves from that by starting to get the body to run more than a basic program. What I do all the time is instead of thinking about the cat, the dog, the budgie, and all the nonsense that goes on in here, I stop all that nonsense, and I use a very simple technique, which you may have heard of, called breathing. Does anybody do it? Does anybody do it properly? Does anybody know how to breathe properly? Do you know what technique we do? We use this, don't we? Now, when we breathe properly, we not only use this, we have to breathe in and out through the nose, because when you breathe through the nose, in and out through the nose, a wonderful thing happens, because the nose generates nitrous oxide. And when you do that, you're triggering the vagus nerve. You know, don't need to remember these terms, Dion, or anybody else. But when you breathe through your nose, the nose generates nitrous oxide, which triggers the vagus nerve, and the vagus nerve connects the base of the brain to all the major organs in your body, and that triggers the parasympathetic nervous system. You can't say that when you've had a beer. Triggers the parasympathetic nervous system, which forces your body to relax. So that makes you feel good, because then your brain releases feel-good hormones that flood your body. That helps you to relax as well. And that helps relieve all the stress that's stored up in your body. And it also gives you between 15 to 20% more oxygen in your blood, which is also good for the body. So that makes you feel good as well. That's just by breathing through your nose. Another thing that happens is that all the sinuses in your face begin to drain when you breathe through your nose. And I didn't even know I had sinuses until I started breathing through my nose, because they will all clear within about half an hour, and your face begins to feel lighter. But you don't discover that unless you start to breathe through your nose. And you save on tissues, because you're not always blowing your nose to clear it. That's just by breathing through your nose. So the good thing to do is to keep your mouth closed, breathe through your nose, and automatically forces your body to be always relaxed, reduces all the stress and tension. And what I do, I focus my attention on the tip of my nose, and I can feel the draft going across the tip of my nose, and I feel the air going through the back of my throat, down into my lungs. And you have to breathe all the way down to your diaphragm, your tummy muscles here, because there are 5 chambers in your lungs, and you have to open them fully to get all 5 chambers to work. And when you do that, it's really good, because when you focus on the tip of your nose, and I do this all the time, I just think about the tip of my nose all the time, and that stops me using my brain to worry about stuff that never happens. It's, excuse me, I don't swear normally, but excuse me for using this word. It's all shit. It just doesn't happen. It's just rubbish. It's nonsense that just goes round and around like a record, and it all gets dumped in the body, making you sick. And do we need it? We don't, do we? So I just focus on the breathing all the time. And people say to me, I haven't got time to do that. No, it's nonsense. You haven't got time to breathe. Is that really true? Everybody's got time to breathe. You just breathe in and out. And you very quickly find that if you focus on the tip of your nose, focus on your breathing all the time, your brain quickly adapts and you can do everything else that you have to do because you get clarity. You can think more clearly about doing the important stuff that you've got to do without all that worry going on in here. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
Now, when you do that, you can do more important things, like you could run a maintenance program. So what I do throughout the day, as well as thinking about the tip of my nose, is I run a maintenance program. So I acknowledge my body and I acknowledge that there are things going on in my body that need to have attention paid to them. So I ask my body and my brain to be in contact with each other. So I say to my brain, have a look in my body, just scan the body and see if everything's working properly. And if not, make some adjustments. I don't know what's going on in my body, but my unconscious mind, my subconscious mind does, because it's monitoring my heartbeat, it's monitoring my cardiovascular system, it's making adjustments all the time. So it's looking into my body all the time to control the flow of my blood. It's controlling my temperature, isn't it? It's doing all of this all the time. So it's looking into my body all the time to do the minimum. So what I need to do is to just say to it, let's have a look and see if there's anything else happening that needs adjustment. And the brain says, hello, there's something funny going on here. He's asking me to do more, and it starts to pay attention. And the more you do it, the more you say to it, have another look, see if there's anything funny going on, see if there's any funny business, see if there's a need for a boost in the immune system. And the more you do that, the more the brain starts to do it automatically. And this is what I do, which is why I remain healthy. This is why I run on peak performance. And this is why not only does my body run on peak performance, I can manage to, my psyche is in peak performance as well. A good friend of mine I discovered has just died. I've known him for about 35 years, and I'm not upset because my psyche runs in peak performance. Most people would be devastated by that, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
But I'm not, because the way my mind runs, the way my mind works. So all those cells are talking to each other and they're all working in peak performance. Am I making sense here?
Mm.
They're all communicating. I'm not boring anyone, am I?
Mm.
No? But what I want to do now, sorry, got a frog in my throat. What I want to do now, and this, Dion, I think you'll particularly enjoy, is to help install that program for you, so you'll be able to do it on your own very easily. And this will help you sleep tonight. Do you have trouble sleeping, or do you go straight to sleep, Dion?
I have a lot of trouble sleeping.
Well, that's going to end now. Would that be good? Would that be valuable?
That would be excellent.
Yeah?
I'd really appreciate a good night's sleep.
Yeah. do you have one or two pillows when you sleep tonight?
I have two.
Two, that's great. Do you find that comfortable there?
Oh yes, I can't sleep without two pillows.
Okay.
It's just, you know, the little sleep I do get, I have to have the two pillows there.
And when,
Otherwise I twist and turn.
okay, and when you sleep tonight, do you sleep on your back or on your side?
On my side.
Is that the right side?
Yes.
Now, how did I know that? You see, this is the collective consciousness, because I'm tuned into everybody in this room now, even though we're in different places. I'm tuned into that collective consciousness,
Yeah.
and it just works. And because we're in this room, the collective consciousness works when we just make the decision that it's there. And even if we don't believe it, we can make it work by just saying to ourselves, I'm going to make it work. I'm just going to try it. And that worked for me many years ago when I was with a girlfriend. She had pain in her back. And I said, shall I fix it? And I was only pretending. And she said, how are you going to do that? I said, I'll wave my hand over your back and the pain will go. And so I was only pretending, and I waved my hand over her back. And she said, oh, that's really nice. I said, what do you mean? She said, it's hot. But she said, move your hand away. It's too hot. And I was shocked because I was only messing about. So you can imagine, visualize, pretend, or make believe it's going to work, and it does. And it's the same when you go to sleep tonight. Straight away, your head goes on the pillow, and you see your eyes are flickering now because you want to do it now, don't you? But what we're going to do now, we're going to do some hypnosis, and you're going to really enjoy this. And I'm going to use a really simple technique. And I'm going to give credit to Carl Smith, because I saw him do this the other day, and I must give credit to him because he was doing it in YouTube. And I use the same method, but I'll give credit to Carl Smith. Otherwise, everybody's going to shout at me because he did it the other day in YouTube. So everybody will think it's his method. But are we all in a place of safety? Nobody's got frying pan on or anything like that. Nobody's driving a car. And if anybody listens to this recording, make sure that you are in a place of safety. You've got nothing on the no frying pans or heaters or anything like that turned on. No dogs about to attack you or anything like that. But just sit down comfortably with feet flat on the floor. And Jane's already closed her eyes, I think. You don't have to close your eyes. You can do this with your eyes open, but most people like to have their eyes closed. And we're going to make this very simple. And for you, Dion, hypnosis is only about imagination and intelligence. That's all it is.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a state of awareness, and the more intelligent you are, the easier you'll find it. And you'll be able to do this all on your own anytime you want to.
Okay.
And you'll be able to replicate this technique when you put your head on that pillow tonight and go straight to sleep, because it is so simple. And I think Elaine is already there. But all I want you to do is to put your feet flat on the floor. And I don't know why it is, but people usually tell their subjects to uncross their feet. But I don't do that, because when you cross your ankles, or when you cross your arms like this, or cross your wrists, or even cross your fingers, it has the effect that it combines the left and right brain, makes your two parts of the brain join, which helps you relax more. Did anybody know that?
No.
So it combines the left and right brain and turns you into a single brain if you cross your legs or cross your arms. And there is a term for that. I can't remember what it is offhand. I'll look it up later. But so you can put your feet flat on the floor, whether or not you cross your legs or cross your arms, that's up to you, as long as you're comfortable. But close your eyes if you want to. And Leslie, are you still with us? Oh, you are. You're muted.
Yeah, I'm still here, just turning off my camera so I can do it.
Okay, fair enough, fair enough. Now, all I want you to do now is to just imagine that hypnosis, and just imagine your little toe, and imagine that hypnosis in your little toe, and just feel that little toe, and feel the sensation in your little toe now, and just notice that sensation, and notice any changes, any feelings you have in that little toe, and just bring your attention down to that toe now, and just notice what it feels like, and just enjoy any sensations that you have in your little toe there, and feel that hypnosis, whatever that means for you, whatever hypnosis is for you, and whatever that sensation is in that little toe there, and imagine that feeling and let it move across into the other toes and into your foot. and notice any changes that are happening in that foot. And feel that hypnosis in the foot now. And I don't know whether you're feeling your right foot or your left foot, but imagine that wonderful sensation of hypnosis creeping into that foot, and just let it move into the ankle and into the calf. And imagine, just imagine and visualize, however you want to feel it, that feeling of hypnosis moving up now, filling up the calf, moving up into the knee and into the thigh and into the waist, and pouring down the other leg right down to the toes as that hypnosis moves into both legs and into the hips, moving up through the body. Just imagine that feeling and notice any changes that you feel in your waist, flooding down through your knees into your feet again and into your toes. And you just enjoy any sensations or feelings that you feel there. And that's right. And just allow that to happen. And you remember that I was talking about cell communication. And imagine all that chatter going on in those cells, in your thighs, in your knees, in your calves, and in your feet, and all your toes. And they're all starting to communicate. And imagine that feeling, that hypnosis moving up through your body, up through your chest, into your shoulders. And you can imagine that hypnosis moving into your arms and through your elbows, right down to your fingertips, and moving up into your neck and right into your head and across your face. And you can feel it now moving into your jaw, and your jaw might start to hang as it moves into your lips, and all of that can begin to relax. And it starts to feel wonderful. And as you feel that hypnosis there, you can start to get in touch with all the stuff that has been going on in your life, going back many, many years. And you can start to get in touch with all the stress and tension that you've been through. And you can begin to just let it go, because you don't need it anymore. And you can get in touch with a sense of any hurt, any shame, any blame, any guilt. And you begin to just let it go. Wherever it is, wherever it's stored in your body, whether it be in your toes or your fingers, in your knees, wherever it's stored, you can just begin to get a sense of it, wherever it is, wherever it's gone. Just get a sense of where it is and just begin. Let that hypnosis go around your body and search it out as your body begins to settle, and you can feel the weight of the chair pushing up and your body pushing down. And you can just allow all of that hurt, shame, blame, disappointment, whatever it is, and you can just let it come up. And you can feel all that going. And you can feel it being pushed out now, being pushed away by all the other stuff in you, of all the wonderful memories you have, all the wonderful good times you've had coming up now, building up, all the joy, all the wonder you've had in your life, coming up and building, pushing out all the hurt, shame, blame and guilt, because it doesn't belong in you, does it? And it's time to let all that go. And now, all the joy, all the happy times, all the good times building more and more and more, pushing, 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 pushing out all that shame, blame, guilt, hurt, and all of that drains out through the floor. As all the joy builds up in you, replacing it, filling every pore in your body so that you start to feel truly wonderful. Really, really good. Feeling really wonderful now. Feeling really, really happy, really contented. And all those cells in your body really starting chattering. Really having a party now. Really having a good time. And when you feel all of that's done, when it's finished, when all the joy has filled your body and all the hurt, blame, shame, guilt has gone, in your own time, when you're ready, I want you to come back to the present time, only when you're ready, only when that's all done, only when you're feeling truly fabulous, come back to the present and open your eyes, only when you're ready. Feeling good? And Dion, you're going to go to sleep straight away when your head hits the pillow.
Oh, I hope so.
And Nick, you okay? Yeah?
No.
Yeah, no, good. Thanks. Yeah, it's good. Thank you, Keith. It's yeah. Even as a hypnotherapist, we can go off.
Yes. I don't know if Henrietta's back, because we haven't got a camera with Henrietta. I hope she's back. But that was good, was it? And then anytime you want to do that, Dion,
Yes.
I want you to know that anytime you want to get back into that deep state of hypnosis and relaxation and peace, you can do it very quickly just by taking a deep breath and saying a magic word that I want you, you don't need to tell us what it is. I want you to choose a magic word or a phrase that is meaningful to you,
Yes.
that you can use, that will instantly take you back into that state. So what I want you to do is to pick that phrase now, or that word, that you will never forget. And any time that you use that word or that phrase, and only use it when you're in a place of safety. You wouldn't want to use it when you're crossing a road. And you wouldn't want to use it when you're tossing a pancake, because it might land on the floor. And so have you picked a word or a phrase that you could use?
I have, yes.
Okay. And when you use that, then that will immediately put you back into that state of trance, and you can bring yourself out of that state of trance anytime just by making the decision, now I'm coming out.
Wow.
So you won't be stuck there. You'll be able to come out as well. And should at any time when you're hypnotizing yourself an emergency arise,
Yeah.
you'll immediately come out of that situation to be able to deal with the emergency, whatever it is, and go about your business.
Wow.
Heaven forbid there's an emergency. So you've got your, don't tell us what it is because it's private to you, but would you like to test it now, see if it works?
Yes, why not?
Okay, so you use a word, put yourself into trance, stay down there for a little while, however long you want to, then bring yourself back out when you're ready.
Okay.
Are you back with us?
Yeah.
Well done. When you go to bed tonight, you'll be able to just use that technique and you'll immediately be in a deep sleep
Oh, wow.
until presumably in the morning.
It's very relaxing.
That's right. And it's so easy to do, isn't it? So
Yes.
you'll never have a sleepless night ever again.
Oh, thank you, Keith. It'd be nice to just sleep right through.
Yeah, unless there's an emergency, in which case you'll wake up in the normal way.
Yeah.
Hopefully you'll never have an emergency. And I want to tell you about a time when I had arthritis in my fingers and all my joints. I was 36 years old. The doctor said, "You've got arthritis." I said, "I don't want arthritis. I've had enough pain in my life," which is true. He said, "You don't get a choice." I said, "Yes, I do." I said, "I'll fix it with visualization." He laughed at me. But I did fix it with visualization, because whenever I was not actively engaged in doing other things, I imagined that the joints, and this is basically cellular communication, I imagined that each joint and each elbow and the knees were talking to my brain. And I imagined that they were running an office, sending messages to each other on bits of paper, like work requisitions, asking for help. So I imagined that the knuckle was writing a message and posting it off to the brain, requesting help, and that the brain was sending a message back saying, "Okay, we're going to do that." So what I'm doing was establishing communication between the brain and the joint. That the paper was just imaginary, but it was enough to get the attention of the brain to get something going on with each of the joints. And it worked, because the arthritis stopped. And I'm 65 now, and all the joints are still perfect. But more recently, I had a problem with my right hip, started to give me a lot of pain. And normally you get a replacement plastic hip. My father had plastic knees, and they didn't really work because he was still in pain. And I thought, I'm not going to have that. So I just imagined again that I didn't use paper this time, imaginary paper. I just imagined that my brain was communicating with the hip, and the hip was communicating with the brain. And I just decided that I was going to have a new hip. And now I've got a completely new hip, because the hip is perfect. I've got no pain at all. It's a perfect hip. And all I do is to create the attention between the hip and the brain. And it really works. It's just a matter of doing it. And so we have the choice. We can worry about stuff that is, as I said earlier on, shit, or we can do creative stuff. And it really works. And I had an amusing thing happen to me, because years ago, I was, in actual fact, just reminded me that we're getting an apology from Christine. Oh, you have to go. Thanks for coming, Christine. I hope you have enjoyed it. I'm glad to have you here, Christine. Thanks very much. I really appreciate you. And sad you have to go. But actually, it has been running for an hour now. I only planned to have it going for an hour. I don't want to bore you too much. I'll just quickly finish off this story, and then I'll let you all go. But Valerie Austin was supposed to be coming, but I imagine she's probably forgotten. Do we all know Valerie Austin? No? Valerie Austin is, or used to be, very well-known hypnosis trainer back in the 80s, and she's written, Jane knows her, but she's written a lot of books on hypnosis, and she was the one who wrote Stop Smoking in an Hour, and she used to work for the Daily Mail, and she had some big write-ups in the newspapers for her quit smoking in an hour, and she's been on television a lot. And she used to do a lot of training in hypnosis, and used to be very well known. Not so much now, but I wanted to be on her course many years ago for hypnosis. And so I booked onto one of her courses, and I had to do a telephone interview to get onto this course. But when I went to the course, which cost me a lot of money, that was at City University, she wasn't there because this company that was called 5% had stolen her content, and that she wasn't going to be there at all. They'd just stolen her manual. And there was this guy there whose name I forget now, Scottish guy. And when I arrived, he said, "Oh, I'm glad you're here." I said, "Really? Why is that?" He said, "I want you to introduce the course." I said, "No, you've got this wrong. I'm a student. I'm here to sit on the course." And he said, "Yes, well, I want you to introduce the course." And based on my telephone interview with one of his girls, I've been telling them about curing myself with hypnosis and how I'd overcome my paralysis and that kind of stuff. And he wanted me to talk to all of his students and introduce him by teaching them about self-hypnosis, which was a bit of a shock to me. So I was in City University with about 100 students with theatre seats, going up in the air like this, terrified because I'd never taught anybody anything at that time. And I had to stand there and teach them for half an hour about self-hypnosis and how to treat arthritis with self-hypnosis. And I was terrified, but they loved me. And then I started to take his course where he was teaching us about hypnosis, or supposed to be. He wasn't actually all that good. But during the course, he got us to do pairing up, to do hypnosis on each other. And he got very upset because when it came to pairing up, they all queued up for me to hypnotize them in a long line. And he was getting very upset because he was trying to persuade them that we should all be in pairs, but they all queued up for me to hypnotize them. And so I got lots of practice hypnotizing people. But it's just gone 10 o'clock now. So do any of you have any questions or anything to say? Elaine, yes.
Yeah. Even though I am a spiritual person, I do like meditate. Well, I know that meditation's good for you, and obviously I believe in hypnosis. I find it difficult to do self-hypnosis. And I think it's because I'm one of these that I put so much into doing things for other people.
Yes.
And I forget myself. And my mind is then so busy. I find it difficult to relax, which is why I love having hypnosis, obviously, by other people, because I find it so difficult to get myself in that zone, to actually do it for myself. And even though I do Reiki and angelic Reiki, I still find it difficult to do it for myself. I can do it for anybody else.
Yes.
But it's almost, what have you got any tips to overcome that and to get yourself in that zone?
Yes. Well, the first thing I suggest to you is to stop saying I can't. You're in a negative mindset at the moment which is very natural, and we all do it. We all say what we can't do. We all say what we don't want, don't we? And hypnotists sometimes are the worst at that. We all talk about what we don't want. So first thing you need to do is to start talking about what you do want. So you do want to do self-hypnosis, don't you?
Yeah.
So start talking about what you do want and start visualizing yourself doing self-hypnosis. See yourself achieving it successfully to begin with. Just see, you picture yourself sitting in a chair and doing self-hypnosis. So imagine you're sitting there in that chair, you feel that chair pushing up against you, and you feel yourself pushing down on the chair, don't you? And imagine yourself in front of yourself, sitting in that chair with yourself pushing down in the chair. Picture yourself meditating. And I don't know how you would do that. You might be sitting there with your hands on your lap like this, or palms down, or however you do it. But however you do it, imagine yourself sitting in front of yourself, sitting in a chair. However you do the imagination, just picture yourself doing it and achieving whatever it is that you want to do. And so you'll be sitting where you're sitting with all the noise going on in your head and failing as you do, but picture yourself sitting in front, succeeding. So this is a bit like, and I'm sorry, Dion, you probably won't know what we're talking about for a while, but please bear with me. But
It's okay.
If you imagine the fast phobia cure, where we imagine somebody sitting in the cinema,
Yeah.
and we're sitting in the projection box. If you imagine yourself sitting in the seat in the cinema and you're in the projection box, picture yourself sitting in the cinema seat, succeeding with the meditation.
Yeah.
Can you do that?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
and then
like-
then
yeah.
put yourself into that seat when you think that the noise in your head has stopped. That might be one way. But what you need to do is to stop saying, I can't. When I laid in my hospital bed, paralyzed from the neck down, I could easily have laid there saying, oh my God, because they told me that I would always be paralyzed. And I accepted that the evidence was there. I accepted that. But then I just said, I'm going to overcome this. And that was what filled my mind. I didn't lay there saying, this is the end. This is so bad. I can't overcome this. I didn't fill my mind with what I didn't want. I filled my mind with what I did want. I said, I'm doing this. I'm overcoming this. I didn't know how. I didn't know the how. I just accepted that it was going to happen. So with your meditation, you don't know the how of it, do you? But you could say to yourself, it's going to happen. And when
I
we,
think with me as well, it's having the I don't know if motivation's the right word or phrase, whatever, but I think it's because I'm too busy thinking about other people. I don't value myself enough and give myself enough time. So I then think to myself, oh, well, instead of meditating though, or doing something for myself, I could be doing something else. And that's how I am at the moment, because my mind just seems so busy. Because at the moment, I work 3 days a week in pensions, which I've been doing today.
yes,
And then I'm like sort of starting off,
yes,
I'm sort of part-time in hypnotherapy and obviously in Sheila's Growth Club and what have you. You know, and I've also got a brother who I'm a carer for, and I've got pets that need sorting.
yes.
I've been at the vets 3 times this week and what have you. And it's almost like I feel like I haven't got enough time for myself. I always feel like I run out of time for myself, and I know I need to prioritize myself, because then I feel a lot better.
So,
You know, in all aspects.
it is the problem that you haven't got time to sit down and hypnotize or meditate, or the problem that when you do sit down to do it, your mind is too busy?
It's a combination, but I think it's mainly the not having enough time. But I know I need to make time, because I always say, if you say you've not got enough time to meditate, it's because you need to meditate more. So I know I need to get into a habit and into a routine, even if it's only 10 minutes a day, and start doing it and just think, I am doing it now. But I know then I'll get these thoughts about, but you need to do this and you need to do that.
Yes.
Or I feel too tired to do it then.
Yes. Leslie. You're muted, Leslie.
Yeah. Sorry, Elaine, can I just say something? So can you just try, instead of setting the goal that you're going to sit down and meditate for 10 minutes every day or half an hour every day, can you just set the intention that 1 minute, start with 1 minute and just do the breathing exercises, right? Just sit for a minute, do like maybe a 5-5-7 breath or something like that, and just give yourself that minute. And then the next day, give yourself 1.5 minutes. The next day, give yourself 2 minutes, right? Just gradually for failure, because we decide that we want to sit for half an hour. And it's, so even just by giving yourself that minute, and then tomorrow 1.5 minutes, then the day after 2 minutes, and gradually building up to it, that kind of gives you that opportunity to introduce a little bit more time each and every day, yourself that priority, eventually getting to, the 10 minutes, the 15 minutes, the 20 minutes, the half hour kind of thing.
Yeah. And I think it's then sticking to that routine. It's getting into that routine and making myself do it.
Yeah. And if you do it every day for like 30 days, what is it they say? Well, they keep changing it. It used to be 21 days to make a habit. And they say, well, no, 30 days. Now they say it's even longer, right? So even set a timer on your phone or something like that, right? And just, even if it's right before you're going to bed at night, I'm going to take 1 minute before I go to bed tonight, and I'm going to do some breathing exercises. I'm going to take 1.5 minutes before I go to bed tomorrow night, or I'm going to wake up 5 minutes earlier and I'm going to do some meditation. Just a thought.
Because the best thing about it is it's sort of like I don't practice what I preach. And I know I need to.
And that's what we do, right? Because this is what we do for a living. So we often put other people ahead of ourselves. So it's an easy thing to do, to put ourselves last, but we really do need to put ourselves first, because that way we've got more to give to other people.
Yes. If you imagine that you are, if you were a surgeon, you need to be, if you're a surgeon, he has to keep his knives sharp, doesn't he? So you have to keep yourself sharp for the benefit of your clients. So by not looking after yourself, you're making your knife blunt. A surgeon wouldn't use a blunt knife, would he?
No.
So you have to keep yourself in peak performance by looking after yourself. Otherwise, you can't benefit your clients, can you? But if you would just breathe properly, because I'm saying none of us do. I do, because I breathe through my nose all the time. I keep my mouth closed unless I'm using it. So I'm always breathing through my nose. That is a meditation in itself. If you could just learn to breathe in and out through your nose, meditate on the breath, you can do that whenever and wherever you are. That is a meditation in itself. And if you bring your thoughts to the tip of your nose, that is a meditation in itself, isn't it?
And I found that a really good tip, actually, when you said about focusing on the tip of your nose.
Yeah.
It really is a good tip, pardon the pun.
Yeah, and if you feel the air going through your nose and down the back of your throat, and focus on that feeling, because it's a really nice feeling in comparison to all the, and excuse me saying it again, all the shit that goes on in here, because we do really think about a load of nonsense most of the time. And it's the same thoughts going on again and again. No wonder we get cancer. Heaven forbid. And all the other problems that we get in our bodies, because the mind is running a record. No wonder people go mad. And we don't need to do it, because if we just think about the breath in, out, and it feels so good when all the sinus is clear. I don't get through tissues at all anymore. I rarely buy them now because I'm breathing properly. And that makes me feel good because I'm a real skinflint when it comes to tissues. But you can do it. And when it comes to actually doing meditation, a tip I learned from Stephen Brooks. Do you know Stephen Brooks? Because you get when you're meditating, you feel like your brain is working overtime, and all you have to do when you get thoughts is to just sit there and say to yourself, don't analyze what you're thinking, just say, oh, my brain is having a thought, and you've dealt with it, and then just go back to meditating. And if you get another thought coming in, whatever the thought is, just say to yourself, oh, my brain is having a thought, and it's dealt with, isn't it? My brain is having a thought, and then just go back to quietening your mind again. And when I was meditating, I was doing it for some time, and after a while I thought, I sat down to meditate, and I was suddenly stunned by the silence. I thought, when did that start happening? Because I had all this chatter going on in my head, and now I can sit down and instantly there's just silence because I've been doing it for so long. But there was this time when I sat down, I thought, wow, silence, because I can do it instantly now, but it took me a while to do it. But there was that moment when I suddenly realized it had started happening, and I can just turn my head off now, and it's marvelous. But it won't happen straight away. So if you sit down and you've got all that noise going on in your head, just say to yourself, my brain is having a thought, and you negate it. Or you could say, instead of my brain is having a thought, you could say, I'm not listening. Go away, I'm not listening. Or focus on the tip of your nose with the breathing. Any more points anybody would like to make? Because it's now 15:15.
Keith, is there any further reading on it that you recommend, or?
On cell communication or meditation?
Cell communication.
Well, I invented cell communication myself, and I'd not heard about anything else to do with it until I was asked to do this talk, because I called it cell communication when somebody else mentioned command therapy. So you might look up command therapy. I think it was command therapy they called it. Oh no, cell command therapy they called it. You might look up cell command therapy, and cell command, or it might be cell command hypnosis, I think they called it, because you're in Sheila's group, aren't you, Nick?
Yeah.
That somebody was talking about cell command hypnosis, and I said I always called it cell communication, because I'd not heard of anyone else calling it anything. Cell command hypnosis. Sorry, Nick.
You need to write a book. You need to write a book, Keith.
Has lots of people said that. Perhaps I should. It could be a spicy hypnosis book, because I've been up to some naughty things during my life, including.
Oh, there's nothing like authenticity, is there?
Yeah, I wouldn't know what I should put into it and what I should leave out.
Put it all in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's what editing is for.
Yeah, that's what you got publishing for.
It would have to go on the top shelf.
Yeah.
I don't know if I should put the saucy bits in.
That makes it more interesting, Keith.
Yeah, maybe. Yes, it would be the hottest hypnosis book there's ever been. Oh, actually, I don't know. We've got those people that do the erotic hypnosis, haven't we? I don't know if any of us know any of them. I know one or two of them, but it's not something that I do. Erotic hypnosis. Well, not often. Because it's not my cup of tea. Not commercially, anyway.
Keith, thank you for doing this.
Mm.
My pleasure. You've enjoyed it, have you?
Yes, very much so.
Right.
And I want to say to Dion, you have a fabulous voice.
Oh, thank you.
She has a fabulous look too, and she's such a youngster.
Oh, if only.
You are. I'm almost 66.
And I'm nearly 50.
I'm tempted to tell you my birthday, but I'd be disappointed when you don't send me a card. So I've not bored you then.
No,
I haven't waffled too much.
have enjoyed it.
Yes, good.
Yeah.
Well, I thank you for coming. I'm a bit disappointed that all the people who've registered, I don't know why people register when they don't come. Why do they do that?
I wonder
They
if
can
some
watch the recording.
Sorry?
I
Say again?
wonder if some people have just forgotten, you know, especially people in the UK. Because when I saw that, you know, when I saw the time, it said 0900 PM. And I thought, I hope it's not 9 o'clock in the morning, even though it said PM after. I thought, because it said 09, it made me wonder if some people thought it was in the morning and had not, you know, missed the PM bit.
Mm.
Yeah, well, sometimes I write 2100, and then you get these
Yeah.
people who don't understand what 21 means. You can't win.
Yeah, well, I'm glad it was evening, so I wouldn't have been able to make it this morning anyway. So
Yes. I made it 9 o'clock because all the people who haven't turned up said that they could make it at 9 o'clock.
I bet they've just forgotten.
Yeah.
They missed out anyway, Keith. They missed
Yeah.
out. We can sell them the course now. We know the details.
Yes.
Yeah.
Perhaps I'll sell them the recording. But
Yeah.
by the way, I have been doing this for epilepsy.org.uk. I'm not going to twist your arm, but if you'd like to make them a donation, I've sent them £50, and you can either go to Facebook on my timeline where there is a donate button, or you could go directly to epilepsy.org.uk, and there is a donate button there as well. And if you could, if you could do that, if you could mention cell command therapy, so they'll know that it's from this meeting, that would be great. Because there is a little box there where you can make a reference. But I'm not twisting your arm. But let's call that a wrap, shall we? Because it's been almost an hour and a half now. And
Thank you so much, Keith. Thank you.
You've enjoyed it. You've learned all
Yes,
that.
I really have. It's been
Good.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Okay. Maybe I'll see you down at Tesco's again sometime.
I'm sure you will.
If you're unlucky.
Oh, no. If I'm lucky.
Yeah. Do you mean that? Maybe I'll what's the word? Maybe I'll start stalking Tesco's then. Yeah.
Well,
Thanks very much, Keith. That was great.
great.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Keith.
Maybe I'll
Have a
do
great
something.
night,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Maybe I'll do something
Have a
like
great
this again.
weekend.
Yeah.
Thanks
Yeah,
so
thanks,
much.
Keith.
And
Yeah.
bye-bye. Have a great
Bye.
weekend.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Keith. Bye
Bye
bye.
to
Bye,
everybody.
Keith.
Bye-bye.
See you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Oh.
It's just you hold on for a bit if you want to, because it's just you and I now. Did you really
Really?
enjoy it? Did you really enjoy
Honestly, Keith, I thought it was. I really enjoyed it. I'm very shy when it comes to the whole Zoom thing, but I really did.